Hey everyone, I am Pranab, a 3D environment artist. In this video, I am going to walk through the entire path of this fantasy scene. From the first default cube click in Blender to the final atmospheric glow in Photoshop. I have packed the whole production process in here, so please watch until the end. Since the Torigate is our main character, I imported it and place it right to the end of the bridge. First things first, the camera. I like to set my frame so early, so I create a camera, adjust the setting to lock in the composition. For a scene like this, efficiency is the key. For the path, I take a plane and scale it to y-axis. For the bridge railings, I scale up a cylinder and duplicate it to 90 degrees. Then use a cube and scale down to make lower parts. To save time, I use an array modifier and a mirror modifier, making it much easier to adjust the bridge symmetry later on. For the massive backdrop, I use ANT landscape add-on. I spent some time duplicating and tweaking the pics to match my reference, ensuring the mountains frame the center of the shot. In the scene, you can see the bridge is bending. For this, I go to curve, then add a path, make this to bend. I also add some rocks using the Botaniq add-on to fill out the midground. I spend a good deal of time tweaking the rocks rotation. Then I could not resist jumping into shading. For the path, I use a standard stone texture with the custom nodes in the shader editor. For the sky, I use a HDRI from Polyheaven and tweak the sunlight for those sharp shadows. For the water, I scale a plane and add a simple water shader with a high metallic value and low roughness to get the crisp mountain reflections. Now I create the shader for the mountains. I prepare rock shader and grass shader, then I use a mix shader for them. I also used color ramp to control blending. This allows the grass to appear only on the flatter surface while the rocks stay on steep cliffs. Next, I set up rocks for the right parts. Then I scale down a cube and create a shape of railing upper part. Add bevel, subdivision and make them smooth. For the railing, I simply create a shader and red color. I also use cherry blossom trees for the scene. Creating natural assets from scratch is time consuming, so I use Botaniq for flowers and trees. Wet painting on the mounting slopes to define what exactly where the flowers should grow using a particle system. To add some life to water, I use a sieve from BlenderKit add-on because every fantasy scene needs a mysterious traveler. For the bridge stone blocks, I separate bridge into 3 parts. I use the one-click damage add-on to add realistic wear and tear. When duplicating these blocks with the array modifier, I make sure to manually adjust the scale and rotation of each to avoid any visual repetition. Next, for the path, I added scattered falling leaves and petals across the bridge path to add a sense of motion to the scene. Next, I create a plane and scale it for water, then I use BlenderKit for water shader. I also use 4 types of plants from Botaniq add-on and adjust scale or rotation to them. Keep same thing for right part. After duplicating the plants and with the scene mostly complete, so I jumped into lighting. I felt cherry blossom trees are not looking like my reference. To give cherry blossoms a magical feel, the default lighting was not enough, so I added a red point light in the center and pink lights around the edges. Next, I duplicated them into other trees. I also place a low intensity point light right in front of the target to ensure our focal point did not get lost in the shadows. At this stage, the scene looks almost perfect, but the magic is in the details. I do a final sweep of the entire environment. After rendering, the work in Blender is complete. Now I move on to working in Photoshop. I started to using the Z depth image from exported from Blender. First I adjust the levels to create a mask so I can use as a mask. I take a blue sky solid layer using depth mask. I make that layer overlaid so they gradually become pale blue in the distance. In my scene, water area look very dark, so using ID map from Blender, I select water area and remove unnecessary parts and adjust the color so they look like my reference. Using Gaussian blur, I blurred the gloss map and overlay the layer. From here, I use camera raw filter for final color grading, a process you could also do in the Blender compositor if you prefer. After cleaning up the lines, I darken the line art and overlay it on the base. Line art map is generated using a Blender add-on called Pencil Plus 4. Next, I add little fog to mountains, keeping the cold atmosphere in mind. I add blue tones. This contrast with the warm colors add clarity and visual impact to the illustration. Also, I add speared cherry blossom petals like falling to the ground. I also increase the saturation of the target to make it strong focal point. I also add a magenta tint to lean into the fantastical mood. I forgot to add reflection in water, so I add effect to the water surface in the distance. And here is the final result, a rich, fantastical environment. I'll be uploading more environment breakdowns like this. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to my channel. Comments below for the files or like also appreciated. I'll see you again in next video. Bye bye.